Hello, Tieu News audience. Today, I'm bringing you a mysterious story about Truong, someone that even now Tieu Nu can't stop thinking about. What happened to Truong that made everyone question what's going on? This isn't just a strange story, but it also holds secrets that not everyone knows. Get ready, because what I'm about to share might keep you glued to your screen. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and if you find this story interesting, consider donating, so I can continue bringing you more thrilling and unexpected journeys like this one. Truong's mother, in a state of complete worry, decided to hire a private investigator to search for her son's whereabouts. After agreeing to help her, the investigator informed her that he had found an important clue. He had managed to extract a video from a security camera in the area where Truong was last seen. In the video, there was a suspicious situation. The surrounding residents even heard the sound of gunshots. This information left her extremely shaken, unable to stay calm. The investigator tried to reassure her, saying that they still couldn't determine whether Truong had been in a serious accident. However, her anxiety didn't ease. She kept asking herself whether her son was safe, and couldn't imagine what life would be like if something had happened to Truong. Unable to hold back her fear, she asked the investigator to check all the hospitals in the area, hoping that if her son was injured, they might find some trace of him somewhere. When she was told that no patients had been admitted due to gunshot wounds, she still couldn't relax. Her worry grew even stronger, and she asked the investigator to expand the search, going to neighboring areas to find any clues. She no longer cared about money or material things. All she wanted was to find her son. The investigator promised to do his best and immediately sent her the video he had found, which showed Truong being kidnapped. Even though she was terrified, she still hoped for the investigator's final efforts. She couldn't bear the thought of her son being hurt. If anyone had intentionally harmed Truong, she would make sure they wouldn't get away with it. Now she could only hope for good news, knowing that time was ticking away, and her anxiety was rising with every passing minute and second. At the police station, the tension was palpable. A young officer was working with his colleague when he asked about the report on Truong's disappearance. The other officer replied that the report had been sent to the higher-ups, but he wanted to go to the area where Truong was last seen to look for more clues. However, he was concerned about the long distance, over 200 kilometers from Hanoi to that area. He worried that the journey might delay the investigation. The young officer also shared his own thoughts. He believed that since Truong had arrested so many criminals, it's possible that the accomplices of those criminals were nearby waiting for an opportunity to harm Truong. His colleague agreed with this idea and emphasized that a thorough investigation was needed to clear things up. He instructed his colleague to finish preparing the report for the higher-ups, and also expressed concern that the department might be held accountable for not helping Truong in time. Meanwhile, an elderly woman entered the police station. The officer invited her to sit down and informed her that they had submitted the report on Truong's disappearance to the higher-ups. The young officer also mentioned that they had new information about Truong and were actively working to find him. The mother sat down and gently took a USB drive out of her bag, handing it to the young officers. She explained that it was a video extracted from a security camera in the area where Truong stopped before heading to the airport in Hanoi. As they watched the video, one officer noticed something suspicious. Truong was chasing a group of criminals. The video was recorded in the exact area where Truong had been. The mother added that besides the images in the video, there was also the sound of gunshots. This made her even more worried, wondering if her son was in danger. The young officers immediately reassured her, saying they would use the video to find more clues and were determined to help her. The mother looked at the officers with hopeful eyes, thanking them for their help and offering to provide any financial support if needed. However, one of the young officers politely declined, explaining that it was their duty and they couldn't accept money. The mother thanked them again, stood up, and left, stressing that she was hoping for good news about Truong. After she left, the officers continued their work. One of the officers remembered the video the mother had just given them and decided to send it to Truong's department. They needed to inform them about why Truong hadn't arrived at his destination as scheduled. One of the young officers immediately started drafting a report to send the file to the higher-ups. Both officers understood how important their task was. They not only needed to investigate Truong's disappearance, but also ensure that his family wouldn't have to worry any longer. With full determination, they began organizing the documents and preparing the report to update the higher-ups on the latest developments. The young officer handed the report to his colleague. After reviewing it, the colleague asked to double-check the details and make sure everything was in order. They both knew this case needed to be resolved quickly and that any new information had to be passed along to the higher-ups in a timely manner. A little later, they continued their work, sending the report up the chain and preparing for the next steps in the investigation into Truong's disappearance. Although no one knew what the outcome would be, they were all committed to not giving up, doing everything they could to find any leads and bring Truong back safely, giving peace of mind to his family. Despite being busy selling melons at the market, Tieu couldn't stop worrying about Truong. She quietly sat there with her basket of melons, but every time her gaze unknowingly drifted toward the bustling road, thoughts of him flooded her mind. Each time a customer came to buy melons, she still forced a smile and made small talk, but deep down, the worry about Truong's safety never left her. Tieu had no idea where he was or if he was okay. Everything had happened so quickly and unexpectedly. The image of Truong in her mind was still as clear as ever, with his warm smile and the promises he made about the future. But now all she could do was wait quietly for news, not knowing when it would come. Questions kept swirling in her head. Was Truong in danger? Was he injured or kidnapped? Had something bad happened to him that she didn't know about? Even though she was busy with her work, every time there was a break and no customers, her eyes would drift to the distant roads, imagining Truong possibly in some kind of danger somewhere. She feared that if something had happened to him, she might never get the chance to see him again. This fear hung over her like a dark cloud, making everything around her seem distant and blurry. Every time her phone rang, she would jump, hoping for news about Truong. But each time she was disappointed when it was just a call about something unrelated. She tried not to let her worries interfere with her work too much, but everything felt dull. Even when someone came to buy melons, she couldn't fully focus on her task. Tieu couldn't understand why this was happening, or why Truong had disappeared so suddenly. She remembered the times he promised to always be there for her, to protect her, and now all she had were these long days with no news about him. His laughter, his warm hugs, everything was now just a distant memory. She grew more afraid that those memories might never come alive again. Although she tried to stay calm, Tieu couldn't shake the anxiety in her heart. She continued selling melons, but each step felt heavier, like there was an invisible weight on her shoulders. She couldn't stop, but she also couldn't stop thinking about Truong and his safety. The worry kept her restless, unable to relax or feel at peace. But how much longer could Tieu endure this fear? Would she ever hear from Truong, the person she loved, who might be in danger somewhere? Tieu and Truong's story isn't over, and the mystery of Truong's disappearance is still waiting for answers. Stay tuned to uncover new clues and see whether Tieu finds peace in her heart, or if she will continue to be swept up in this dangerous journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any updates. The story isn't finished yet, and you won't want to miss what comes next.